Hello and welcome to my podcast Renew Motherhood. And this is the second part of the episode Be the Change and Your Kids Will Change with Claude Larsson. Let's jump into.
Yeah.
And at the end of 10 weeks, I announced to the class, well, Mindful Monday, this is my number 10. I only planned on doing this 10 times. So this is our last one. And I had several kids look at me like, oh, no, like, please don't stop. And what got me was I had one student who had a very rough home life. And he was just like, in a word, if I had to describe him, he was angry. He was just angry because life really was unfair for him. And he just looked at me and he was like, I think I need this more than I need your physics. Like, can we do this? He's like, I should probably be doing this every day. Like in that moment, he recognized like, I probably would benefit from counseling, but he didn't like.
What a courage he took in this
Yeah.
moment to stand
Yeah.
up for himself and to talk about this.
Especially because
Wow.
he was not that kid. He was not doing my work. He was not doing my homework. He was not doing well in my class. Like he, like he just, I don't think he had one thought about what his future might be. Yeah, he really did not. He had no thoughts about his future. He had no guidance from his parents or his family members. And I think he suddenly realized like my today is not my future.
Yeah.
And I have the power to change it. And that was huge. So obviously, after kids, more than one, but him in particular, after that, I said, okay, well, now I'm like, okay, I had only done 10 of these. So I've got to come up with a bunch more to make it to the end of the year. And I thought, well, that's okay, because it's Monday and I don't do this again for another week. So I've got time. And I just started, thinking and like really just observing, seeing what was missing and saying like, aha, that's a life skill that some of them don't have, or that most of them don't have. And I would say more weeks than not, I would have one or two, maybe three students who would sort of mess around like, okay, the bell rings, it's time to go to your next class. And they're fumbling and they're dropping their things and they're just waiting for everybody else to leave the room is what they were doing. They're saying to their friends, I'll catch up with you, dropped all my stuff,
Yes.
And they were really just waiting to tell me something. And so many of them were such a surprise. Like, here's a very quiet kid. They don't say too much in class. They might not be in the, like popular crowd with kids walking around them, whatever. And they would share something that was really a personal struggle for them, whether it was with their family or with their friends or just within their inner world. It was remarkable. And they knew, short of them saying they were going to harm themselves or someone else, they knew it was in confidence. Like I was never going to bring it up. I was never going to tell anybody else about it. And we built this really amazing trust. Like it turned, and when I say this was a super challenging group of 13-year-olds, I had around 130 of them, 131 maybe.
Yes.
Oh, they were a lot. And they ended up being one of my favorite classes by the end of the year. And so many teachers came to me, I'm tearing my hair out. I don't know what to do. These kids they're rude. They interrupt. Da, 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 da. And I would be like, oh, I don't have those problems.
You made a change.
Yeah. And some of them, and I will say one student gave me a hard time one day. And I looked at him, I said, I've had several teachers stop in here and tell me what a pain in the neck you are in their class. And I get it. Like right now, I get it. You've never done this before. But if this is what you're doing to them on a daily basis, yeah, I could see why they might be happy to see the back of you every day when that bell rings. And he was like, Oh, but like I could say it because I had built a relationship with him.
Wow.
Like we had a mutual respect, but I was like, and I said to him, I defended you to them. Like I was like, no, he's a good kid. He works hard. Like he's fine in my class. He doesn't interrupt, like,
Mhm.
and like, I've made him like team leader on lab teams. He's great,
Wow.
and I was like, I'm sitting here defending you and you treat them like that. Wow. Okay. I get it now. Next time they come, I'm going to maybe have a little more sympathy for them. And he was just like, okay, maybe. And then they came to tell me he actually improved his behavior.
Wow.
And to me, it was like, I didn't do anything except make him aware of how people were perceiving him.
Mhm.
Because he just thinks he's being him and that he can keep doing that to a teacher and he or she, they got to take it, right? And it's like, yeah, but we're human beings too. And we would prefer to have more joy in our day than like more struggle,
Would you say
And
that would you say that you triggered some empathy inside of him?
oh, 100%,
Mm.
100%. Yeah. And
That he was able to really to connect to the people differently. So first time seems that he's isolated and just did his thing and not thinking about others. And
right.
suddenly you could, with your connection probably, you could change him in a way, in a positive way, but even to become aware of you can have other connections too,
Yeah.
if you want.
Exactly. Like you and I, we're good. Like we're relationship, we're fine, right? But you can have that everywhere,
Hmm.
but you have to want it. Like they can't make you be respectful. I
Yeah.
mean, and I think at some point, some of them were less experienced teachers, kind of new to the craft. And it's very easy to like, oh, here he comes again. And you already are feeling, you're already putting off the vibe that like, oh, this kid's annoying. And they sense that, they sense it. So, but you make them aware. And I don't know, so many things improved, so many things improved. The discipline, and especially with that group, because they were rough. The discipline in my classroom was zero, because I didn't have to stop it, quit doing that or stop saying that or apologize or I didn't have to do any of that. I just had to say like, so did you, did you really mean to have her feel really dumb in this moment? Because that's kind of like, that's what you did. Like you just kind of belittled her when
Hmm.
she didn't understand physics, when like pretty much if I wouldn't have a job if you all understood physics, right? Like that's what I'm here for, to explain things. But like when somebody doesn't know something, like they shouldn't feel bad about that, and like they would apologize. They like I never had to tell them, but they would change their behavior and my only job was to make them aware of it. Like, let me just point that out. I'm just pointing it out. Like what you do with this information is your decision. And I would say, 99.9% of the time they were like, oh, maybe I want to be a better person right now.
Yes.
Like they did not say, yeah, no, I meant to be a total jerk. Like, that was not their intention. They just weren't thinking, because they're 13 and 14 years old, and
Yes.
life is hard.
What would be a good advice for mothers and fathers who have got children in this age? What would be your number one advice for them?
Um, my number one advice for parents is get very clear on what your values are.
Hmm.
What do you value? Do you value honesty? Make sure your kids know that. Do you value, taking care of your health? Make sure your kids know that. Yes, you're going to model it, but like have the conversation. If you want them to have a work ethic, tell them what excellence is. ask them, who do you think is excellent?
Mm-hmm.
Why do you think excellent? To
Right.
be okay, maybe because it will never, because getting a kid from, birth to out of your house,
Mm-hmm.
right? Hopefully gainfully employed and off your payroll. Getting that to happen doesn't happen overnight. It happens over time.
Yeah.
And I found that 10 to 15 minutes once a week with 130 students transform the environment. And
That's
I
awesome.
think when you're a parent, 15 minutes, you're in the car. Okay, we're not at ourselves. You're not taking your cell phones. You're not texting your friends. You're not scrolling whatever nonsense social media you happen to, whatever platform you happen to be falling in love with at the minute. Have a conversation. Not how was your day? Fine. End
Mm-hmm.
of conversation. What was the best thing that happened to you today?
Mm-hmm.
What was the hardest thing that happened today? Did you overcome it? How did you overcome it?
Mm-hmm.
What do you believe in yourself now that you didn't before when you thought you couldn't do this? Right? Like, who did you ask for help? Like, those are the things, like, not just how was your day? Fine. Because you're just letting them off the
That's not
hook.
a
And
conversation.
well, that and like you're letting them off the hook, you're letting yourself off the hook.
Yes.
You're like, I
And
know
you
what
don't
they're
get
gonna
the answers that you want to have, actually.
right. And then, I mean, this is my favorite. The parent who says, how was your day? Fine. I'm so tired of their monosyllabic answers. Like,
Yeah.
well, maybe ask a question that, engages them, and I say, like, I have two grandkids now, they're 6 and 8. And when the times that I get to pick them up from school, they get in the car and they are, I mean, they're two little boys, they're 6 and 8. Imagine this. I call them gas and a match because, like, you put them together, you're like, holy cow, it's crazy in here. And they want to talk. So I'm always like, what was the best thing that happened in school? And what was the funniest thing? What did you laugh at today? And like, what did you what did you make in art class and why did you love that? What was it that you loved, right? And I mean, their language, I can't believe it. One will say, like, I really liked it because it was about shapes. Like, what 6-year-old is thinking this? But like, if it, like, he could just be like, it was fun, but he was like, no, what do you really like about this thing that you made? Oh, I like that I got to cut out shapes and put them together.
Wow.
Great. That's collage. Like,
Yeah.
your 6, that's art language right there.
Yes.
I also think it's a great idea for parents to let your kids know, see your kid, let your kids see you succeed. Let your kids see you struggle,
Mm-hmm.
because you have problem solving skills, especially if you have kids. Oh my gosh. But, let them see you struggle, and that not everything is rosy and a picnic all the time, so that when they struggle, they start to believe in themselves.
Mm-hmm.
And that's one thing. I mean, I always say that I said it to my children, right? You will do something when you believe you can.
Yes.
And like, we, teaching them to ride a bike. It was like, finally I stopped. I was like, do you believe that you can ride this bike?
Mm-hmm.
And they looked at me like, I was like, because your friends, they're riding bikes.
Mm-hmm.
Like, do you believe you can? Like, and
Could be possible.
right. And then they were like, yeah, I can. Okay, if you believe, because if you said to me, I absolutely can't do this, this lesson is over.
Yeah.
But, and that's the thing. Tell your kids, I believe in you. I believe you can do this. Do you believe you can do this?
How
Right?
powerful.
Here is why I believe you can do this. These are the things you've done growing up. You overcame this. You learned how to do that, right? You have this skill set. And I believe that you can do whatever the thing is.
Yes.
because sometimes they themselves don't believe they can do it
Mhm.
until you
They
point it
need
out.
your belief in them.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like, because if they don't believe in themselves and nobody around them is saying, but I believe in you,
Mhm.
you can do this. You've done harder things than this, right? Or this is the hardest thing you've ever done. However, this is how you're setting yourself up for it, right? And you've done X, Y, Z. Go. Here's the next step, right? You're just getting one step higher on this mountain.
Wonderful. Yes, I love this.
Yeah.
This is so awesome. And I love this story of really changing the kids' minds. And with just, you said, about 15 minutes a week, this is almost nothing.
Uh,
So
and
happy.
that's the thing is like when you're a teacher, you've got content you need to cover. Like
Yeah.
that's, they're not paying me to do that, to work on their life
Life
skills.
skills.
Right. But I was like, I can't get to the science until I get to these life skills. And honestly, I invested 10 to 15 minutes every Monday in every class. And I got more done
Huh.
the rest of the week than, like I just started planning for more because everything went smoothly. Because also when you're teaching them, this is excellence, right? Let's all define it. Let's define it for ourselves. Then, you give them some sticky notes. What's a word? What's an action that to you is excellence? And you just start reading these out, and kids start to realize like it's not hard. It's about the consistency of doing it over time.
Wow.
And yeah, and so anyway, yeah. So the following year I said, well, I'm not gonna wait till I'm frustrated or wait to find out if they need these life skills, because I feel like there's somebody out there that probably could use everything that I'm talking about.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I ended up making it 30 lessons because in a school year you have about 36 weeks. So you're not going to do it the first week of school because they can't,
They have to come back first.
they don't even know where they're going. Like I don't know my schedule and I keep getting lost and I'm always in the wrong place at the wrong time. So, you wait a couple weeks, you get it started. Then there's like standardized testing weeks. I don't know if they have that there in Germany, but that's not the week that you're like, oh, we're going to take 15 minutes and do this before we like crunch your brain into these little boxes that you have to fill out. And the last week, well, I mean, it was 8th grade. So the last week is crazy. Their graduation practice or promotion practice, and
Yes.
they're going to the high school. They are losing their
The
minds.
thoughts are
They're
now
so
gone.
yeah. So, but honestly, it's funny because when I think about it, I did one lesson at the very end of the year, and normally I was doing this in my classroom, and we were having graduation practice, so I'd had all 130 of them at a time. And there really wasn't a time for me to do this. And I really wanted to do this one last lesson. And it was just, I went to the store and I bought boxes of dominoes, like the little, with the like 2 dots on one side and 4 dots on the other, whatever. I put them in a big bag and I walked around and everybody grabbed a domino. And then the whole lesson was just about how if you line up your dominoes, all you got to do is make one move, right? And a lot of other things will fall in line. And I just talked about like, what's your domino? Like, what do you want? There's 1,000 steps to get to what you want. What's the first step? Because that's your domino.
Wow.
And I said to them at the end, if you want to keep this domino, feel free. Like, this is a reminder.
Yes.
That one step, right, in the direction you want to go is going to get you there. It's going to get you started, and it lets the other dominoes fall. And I said, but if you don't, if you don't want it, you don't need it, this didn't ring true for you, just put it back in the bag.
Mm-hmm.
And I will say most kids took the domino. And I thought,
Yeah.
okay. And it was just like, this is just a visual reminder
Mm-hmm.
that this is in your power. And it's a little domino. It doesn't take a big step to get you started. It just takes a little bit of effort,
Mm-hmm. And consistency.
Yeah, exactly. Because that step is going to lead to the next, to the next, to the next.
Right. Absolutely. I
They
love
never
it.
they never see that. They see, and I mean they have these, they're given unrealistic images every day. Oh, I'm going to be, what are you going to be when you grow up? I'm going to be a YouTube influencer.
Yeah.
You know how they got there? Do you know how they got there? They made like a million terrible videos, and then one thing went viral by the luck of, grace of the gods. And that's why they're there. But first they made a million terrible videos. Are you prepared to make a million videos? And they don't realize that that's, how it works. They don't.
Yeah, right. And this is, I think, but this all could happen because you showed up first. You made the difference and you made a change of your teaching and of your, yes, how you start the day with your kid, with the kids that are in the classroom. So I
Which
think
is,
this is the wonderful way to say, okay, I have to change, and then see the change happening. It's like the domino that you ended up. So
yeah.
you
Yeah.
were
So
the first
I
one.
made one change,
Yeah.
right? I made one change. And that was, and it was risky. It really was. If there's any teachers that I'm talking to out there, that things can go very wrong, unexpectedly. And that was my thing, is like, I'm going to make one change. I do not know what the outcome is.
Yeah.
And as a teacher, you have a plan. Like, I'm going here, we're doing this. This is the lab that we're going to run. This is the thing that I'm trying to teach them. Like, you have a goal, right? You have an expected outcome. And I think, same with parenting. I mean, you have a child and you don't know what you're going to get. Boy,
Right.
girl, are they
Right.
gonna are they gonna be very quiet, introverted, and love books? Are they going to, be like kicking soccer balls around the house constantly and like, living in cleats and sleeping with cleats under their pillow? Like, that was me as a child. Thank you. But you don't know the outcome.
Yeah.
Uh, and that is so, leaps of faith, just little leaps of faith. And then I told them, well, then what happened was I realized this had to be a book.
Mm-hmm.
It was
Yeah.
so, it was so transformational. This had to
What's
be
the title of the book?
the book is called The Power of Choice, A Teen's Guide to Finding Personal Success.
Wow. Yes.
Yeah. So
Is it
power,
available on Amazon?
it is available on Amazon. I have it. This is actually the teacher's edition. So there's
Yeah.
a teacher's edition.
Oh, wow.
And there's a regular edition. So the regular edition has the 30 topics written up as lessons with little, let me find one here. Like, maybe there's just like a little page for them to write
Yes.
on, little things, pictures, images, little boxes that give them directions. Wow, I really can't. Zoom is
A
reversed.
little. Yes. Yeah.
So that there were 30 lessons. And then I realized that teachers might always not always be as comfortable as I was, because I had lots of years of experience.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I was also like, okay with taking this risk
Mm-hmm.
in my classroom. So I made the teacher's edition with the original 30 lessons. And then there's a follow-up afterwards that is like an extension.
Mm-hmm.
So for example, if the lesson was excellence, right? So they have their own individual, they're going to write their own thing. Nobody's going to look at it. No, I'm not going to collect it or grade it. It's none of my business. It's just about self-awareness.
Yeah.
But then as a teacher, there's a whole class activity. And the activity, and when I say low tech, I'm like no tech. I want no tech. I want no screens. I want no phones. I want none of it. I would just draw a line down the middle of my whiteboard. And on one side I wrote always, one side I wrote never. And I handed them little sticky notes and, Post-it notes. And I said, I want you to think of somebody who's excellent. What's one thing they always do? What's one thing they never do?
Wow.
Put it under the thing. Don't put your name on it. This is anonymous. Just stick your label up there. And then we just read them. So they never complain, right? They always encourage others. They never, throw their hands up and give up. Like they don't, what do they never do? What do they always do? And then you start to see these are the habits that build excellence.
Yes.
Right. And I think because their idea of excellence is somebody's edited photo on social media, they think that's excellence. They don't realize it's personal characteristics that you internalize and that you use as your guideposts in life.
Yeah.
Right. And so we start talking about them, and everything they write, I go like, what does this cost? It's free. You can encourage other people. You can stop complaining. It's really hard to do, but you can stop. Like you can stop it. You can put a pin in it and just say, I got to stop thinking like that. I got to stop saying those things out loud. I got to stop saying them in my head. You can do it. It's hard. You can do it. Right?
Yes.
But they start to see this is available to everybody. They already have something they do that's excellent. Most of the time there's some little thing that they do. Oh, when my friends are sad, I try to make them laugh. Well, maybe somebody wrote, like making people feel better. Well, if that's something that you do, that's a way that you are excellent. And you just start to get them to recognize that they have the power to do it.
Yeah, right.
Because they don't believe it.
Yeah.
And until they believe it,
nothing changes.
That's right. That's right.
What is that you offer? You are offering your book and the teaching edition, the edition for teachers.
Yes.
And, yes. Do you have anything else? Can people reach out to you? Well, you have got your arts, which is awesome, but this is another part.
I know. I think about it and I realize it didn't happen overnight. Like sometimes I think back and I go, oh my gosh, I've been doing that for 25 years. Wow. My art, 25 years, teaching since 1986. So, that kind of stuff. So my book, I have a website for my book and let me give it to you short version. The student edition, there's 30 activities.
Yeah.
The teacher's edition, there's the same 30 activities and 30 additional ones you can do with a whole class that never makes the kids give up personal information, because a classroom is not a trusted group. So you don't want them to share, their private things, but you can still talk about topics. So I have low tech, no tech activities, 30 for students, 60 if you want to do a whole class individual or whole family. Like that's kind of like my other one. You could have these are great conversation starters. If you have teenagers and you're like, I don't know how to talk to them about, building gratitude. I don't know how to talk to them about letting go of grudges. I don't know how to talk to them about these things because I work full time. I still have to get dinner on the table. Everybody's got to get to practice. I'm exhausted. Right? Here's 60 things, 60 things you can talk with your family about. And on my website, which is ClaudeBLarsson LLC.com, we'll put that in show notes, but
Yes.
CLAUDE, middle initial B, LARSON, LLC.com. I have a little category. It's called free stuff, and you can download it, and it's 30 additional activities that
Yeah.
you
Wow.
can do. And everything from, drawing and then like observing what you've drawn by like what's missing and like, but how do you know what this is? I will say I really poured my heart into this
Yes, it sounds
project.
so
So, you go 30, 60, 90. It's like increments of
wonderful.
30. So every chapter has that. I also have, I make art. I have Claude Larsson art.com. So that's my website. I do blogs. I do YouTube videos, Claude Larsson art. That's my
Yes, yes.
channel.
So people can reach out to you on different platforms, and I will place everything in the description so
Yeah.
that you are definitely found.
Yeah, make it easy to, because again, the internet can be complicated. So easy, easy, easy. And yeah, I mean, I'm thinking about maybe next year finding a local school, maybe connecting with the teacher and seeing if I can't go in,
Yes,
on Mondays and take over for a few minutes and
that's
or
wonderful.
share a book with them and say,
Yeah,
because honestly, I did it as a science teacher. This is perfect for an English teacher. It's reading, it's writing, it's listening. There's
yeah,
so many things in here.
yeah.
And I pulled it off. It was not my subject matter. I actually got observed by my principal, which is when they write up how they think you're doing. And I thought, oh, I am just gonna get crucified for this, And honestly, when we had the conference afterwards, he was like, "This is great. You should do more of this." And I said, "I do this every Monday." Like,
Yes, wonderful. I
like,
love this, Claude. It's
yeah.
so amazing. And what you've done, I think this is just a wonderful role model for each teacher, for every parent, and to see actually the results that can happen if you make a change. And
And it
I'd
doesn't,
love to,
honestly, it doesn't have to be big. It could
yeah,
be when I pick you up from school, there's no cell phones until we're at the house, right?
yeah,
That's like very tangible.
yeah,
Like,
yeah,
right? You're not on your cell phone because you're driving, at least
yeah,
I hope you're not. And just say you're not, and then it starts with a conversation
yeah,
or it's a small change, but you'll be surprised. And again, they're teenagers. It doesn't work overnight. It works
right.
over time.
Yes, you need the process, and you need to be patient, to just be the consistent part first, and then your children can follow you. I think this is wonderful. I like to end up here because we can talk forever, I think,
Yes.
about this.
Yeah,
There are
don't get me
so many
started on art. Don't get me started on art because
yeah.
they're like I could talk all day about that. Yeah.
I love this. Thank you so much for being my guest here on the podcast Renew Motherhood. And yes, stay tuned for the upcoming episodes. Thank you very much, Claude. I just
Thank you for
enjoyed
having
it.
me. This was a great conversation and a wonderful opportunity. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.